Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Well, I just went for a little bit of shopping because obviously I've got today off because it's bank holiday and all that. But here's something that really shocked me more than anything. Anglia Square apparently is going under full demolition. So it's no longer going to be Anglia Square, more like Anglia Obtuse or something like that, or Anglia Rubble or something. I don't know. But of course you didn't come here to find out about the demolition work. No, I want to talk about the Labour Party and reform, because I know I've said in the past that I'm not particularly a big fan of reform right now because of the way they've effectively backstabbed a whole load of people and been just really fucking liable. Really, I can't get the words out this morning. They've been really unpleasant for me to deal with right now, just for the way that they treat some of their own core voters who actually went out of their way. What the? Oh, I thought that. It's just because a name came up and it was pure coincidence because of people I work with. Anyway, the fact of the matter is Reform have been known for backstabbing. Nigel El-Faraji has been known to run away from trouble, the first sign of trouble. And I've not really been a big fan of them, quite frankly, after all the treachery and the deceit. But I will say this much in favour of Reform. I'd certainly take them over Keir the Traitor Starmer any day of the week. And I think the vast majority of the British public have also agreed with that much, because there has been a massive landslide across the whole of the UK. And they're all turning blue. But the trouble is, as I've said before, is that the Tories have also been known to use blue in their campaigns and their logo and what have you. So, and there's also no surprise that Nigel El-Faraji was talking about maybe there needs to be a merger with the Conservatives. And I don't agree with this, because I think what we'll get if we do that is we'll have Tory 2.0. Of course, it's Nigel El-Faraji's decision, but I can tell you right now, free of charge, that will not go down well. But at least Keir the Traitor Starmer is starting to pay a heavy price for his continued dishonesty, his deceit, his treachery, and prioritising one section of the community rather than the whole country. That's the thing. The British people do not take kindly to being lied to. The British people do not take kindly to being made second-class citizens in their own country. And as much as I don't particularly like Reform are, to some extent, giving some people a voice where they didn't have one otherwise. So Keir the Traitor Starmer can't be surprised if he starts losing votes willy-nilly when he's been basically a treacherous wanker of the highest level. And it is, in some cases as well, it is a classic case of fuck around, find out. Because after all, he's fucking around with the British people, and now he's finding out the hard way that the British people are not going to take kindly to that. I do still personally think, though, that we're going to head towards a civil blank before we get the chance to vote to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking. But it does at least seem like there's some headway being made. It does at least feel like we're getting somewhere as far as kicking out the uni party is concerned. But I've said it before, and I'll say it here again. Reform are also part of the uni party. That's the cold, bitter truth. They're just doing a good job disguising it. I mean, don't expect me to give Reform any sympathy when they have repeatedly been calling us thugs and calling Tommy Robinson falsely a wife beater. And I've even had some close friends of mine who have been saying, well, Reform are the best out of a bad bunch. Well, maybe you could agree with that with me. Or, sorry, maybe I could agree with that with you. But here's the thing. Those who are part of the uni party are still part of the problem. The best case scenario you're going to get out of me is we get them in power for 4 years or 5 years, and then we kick them out for someone like UKIP. Because that's the thing. I fundamentally do not believe anymore that Reform are the right answer to all of this. The closest I'm ever going to say to saying that Reform are actually what we need is I'd say they're probably more a stepping stone for us to get to the right direction, get to the right place that we need to be. Unless it's that, I don't agree that Reform are the right answer, quite frankly. I would urge people to look into different parties. more than anything. Speaking of that which, anybody remember that story I told about that Marine who was being persecuted in the Royal Marines for basically going against DEI wokery? Well, apparently they then tried to tie him with the Homeland Party, trying to basically make out that he's this far-right individual. Mind you, the term far-right and racist and fascist, etc., when it's labelled on us, it basically bounces off like a rubber bullet. It might hurt a bit, but then you start to get used to it and you're like, hey, you know what? I must be getting nearer to the target, because the flak always seems to get heavier the closer you are to being on point. And the way I look at it is, I don't know much about the Homeland Party. I really don't. The only thing I know is that apparently it's headed by one Kenny Smith, who was part of another party that ended up getting banned, I believe, if I recall correctly. But I don't really want to talk too much about the Homeland Party, as I don't want to drive this too much about being about other parties. Though I will say this much. People do need to start looking up other parties. They need to find out the parties that are available to them, do some research, see what's hiding underneath, check if there are any skeletons in the closet and what have you, and come to their own decisions. But I do personally think people should at the very least research UKIP, and I do think people should look into their policies, their missions, where they stand. Because bear in mind, Nigel Farage only said he would start doing mass deportations nearer the end of the campaign, as he knew full well if he didn't, his votes would have gone down like the Titanic, quite frankly. Think about it. He has been told time and time again, we need mass deportations, and that we're not a big fan of people from third world shitholes coming over here, preaching Islam and wanting Sharia law in this country. Yet, he tried to play the race card against a religion, or in favour of a religion, in the means of Zia Yusuf. Like, that's the way I look at it. He tried to downplay that, or tried to play the race card with that, and then as far as mass deportations is concerned, Nigel El-Tharaji was like, we're not interested in them. But then, lo and behold, last minute, 11th hour, he then comes out and says, we will do mass deportations. So it really does beg the question, how much integrity and how many principles does Nigel El-Tharaji have? Have a think about it. Because at the end of the day, if someone is willing to turn their stance on a whim, are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? Or are they just saying it to save face and get some votes? That's the thing. I'm not a complete expert, but even I know when someone is going out of their way to switch their seemingly unmovable stance over to another one which is more populist, that to me is a little bit suspect. That seems to give off a red flag for me, quite frankly. The way I see it is Nigel has time and time again, alongside his Reform Party, slandered core voters because of the fact that they support one man who is currently residing in H&P Woodhill. He has openly sacked people for supporting that person. Hell, prime example of that, I believe, is Gerard Batten, who, because he supported Tommy Robertson, he was kicked out of UKIP. Just like that. Likewise for Stephen Wolfe. And look how he treated Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe when they dared to stand up to the Messiah complex king himself. I'm not saying that we should keep voting Lib Lab Con. Far from it. I am not saying, however, that we should be voting for Reform either, because I do think that they are part of the Uni Party, and I think the oligarchy are just putting on that mask and they're trying to hide this very well. That's the way I look at it. If you want real change, I've said it many times before, and I will say it here again, you need to get UKIP,
You need to start standing for MPs if you believe you've got the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case, both, to be able to do that. Because that's the thing. Unless we actually make the effort to get that change, nothing's going to happen. And nobody can sit here and say, I'm not making any effort to become an MP for UKIP myself. Because I have been on UKIP like white on rice. I have been trying to get these people to send my fucking membership card, and I still haven't got it. So, make of that what you will, but I have been chasing it. I have been chasing it fairly robustly, but unfortunately I can't help it if I haven't had what I need to become an MP. But the pure, honest, cold, bitter truth is, there are people who do fundamentally believe that Reform are the right party. I can assure you they are not. They are not the right party. If you want the right party, it would have to be UKIP, because they have stood by their beliefs the whole way, whereas Nigel El-Faraji has been changing his policies and what have you at a moment's notice. He's changed his stances on things at a moment's notice. He is no better than Keir the Traitor Starmer. Hell, he even went out of his way to say Keir the Traitor Starmer isn't that bad a guy. He was basically cozying up to Keir the Traitor Starmer. Now, I don't know about you, but that must be a massive red flag if you're willing to be in cahoots with a man who doesn't give a shit about the country and would rather flood this country with barbarians from their third world shitholes, quite frankly. That's what it comes down to. It seems that Keir the Traitor Starmer has no interest in doing what's right. And he still hasn't read the room, even after he has had a bloodbath of an election. He has absolutely tanked as far as his party's popularity is concerned. They have lost so many councils. They have lost so many seats. They've lost so many votes because all they wanted to do was backstab, backstab, and backstab some more. And then, in Jess Phillips' case, stab them in the front as well. Because obviously, we know Jess Phillips did have a history of saying, I won't stab you in the back, I'll stab you in the front. But of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. It's like we must have gone to the fucking underworld to pick out the worst possible people to come up and serve as our representative party to run the country. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, we must have sold our souls to the devil, I almost think. And I'm not even a holy person. I'm not a Christian myself. But even I could sit here and say, you know what? I think we sold our souls to the devil. And he probably wanted it half price as well. Anyway, he probably sold us off. They all sold us off to the devil at this point by voting the Labour Party. And I bet some of these people who voted Labour are wishing they hadn't. But the truth is, unfortunately, there are a lot of very, very stupid people out there. That's the cold, bitter truth. There are so many stupid people, you'd almost think that we should never have gotten beyond the telephone or the old computer. Windows 95 and that kind of shit. Like, how did we get beyond that? Like, my God. Oh, it makes me despair. It really does. And I really don't want to be doing that on a bank holiday right now. So, oh, God. But I know I laugh about it, but Jesus fucking Christ. There are some really stupid people. Really stupid. Who said you included? Shut up, you. Anyway, the truth is, Keir the Traitor Starmer is focusing too much in trying to turn our country into something else. Hell, he's even decided, oh, now we're going to target international students. International students. On the back of this absolute bloodbath. So you would rather screw over people who are trying to come over to this country to learn than you would rather deport illegals that have come over here? remove foreign criminals that have committed the worst crimes, do something about the Pakistani GR rooming gangs. You'd rather deal with students versus the worst kind of scum on this earth. And he wonders why he's lost so many fucking votes. If he ain't careful, he is going... Well, let me put it this way. His party's dead in the water as is. His party, I don't ever see being elected ever again. So I think at this point, Keir the Traitor Starmer knows that, and now it's just a matter of grab a sledgehammer and see how much damage he can do before somebody finally kicks him out of office. That's the way I look at it. He's trying to do as much damage to this country for his Davos and WEF masters as he physically can before somebody finally takes out the trash and places it in the dustbin of history, where he rightfully belongs. But the bottom line is, we cannot rely on reform for total change. We need a party that is not afraid to make the hard decisions. We need a party that is not afraid to start removing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people from our country if necessary, in the name of trying to keep our land Christian and holy. Because, as I said, I'm not a Christian, but I understand what built this country. I understand wholeheartedly what made this country. 2,000 years of blood, sweat, and tears made by the blood of the Brits. And then here comes a traitor who wants to castrate her. And he's put us all in the shit. Who is he?